Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Okay, it is currently 4:43 p.m. on this beautiful, sunny, warm Saturday afternoon. It's about 85 degrees in Indianapolis right now. There's a little bit of a light breeze outside. And I just got done filming 3 videos. I filmed a drama video. And then I filmed a Peterisms video. And then I filmed the TikTok water trend, which I'm still sipping on right now. And those videos are currently uploading. I also have my iced coffee right here. And when those videos get done uploading, my agenda for the rest of the day is to, go inside and finalize those videos and post them. And then I am going to start rendering and uploading this vlog once I get it done. And then I am going to water these plants out here in my fern, and then also water the plants on the back patio because they are thirsty. They're still doing great, but I can tell they're real thirsty today. It's weird because these plants right here, I guess they're impatient, somebody said. Once they start looking like they're like dying a little bit, which they don't look like they're dying now, but they look like they're thirsty. As soon as I water them, they like perk back up, and they're like, you know, fantastic again, which is crazy. So, yeah, so there's that. And then, that's about it. And then Alex and I will probably watch RuPaul's Drag Race tonight and maybe a movie or something like that. He went to brunch with some of his friends. And there seemed to be a lot of confusion about this in the comment sections. I don't know, people were like, I'm confused about this brunch or whatever. So Alex and his friend Sarah and like several of his other friends, and it was like this group of people that like they were all friends during college and hung out and went to bars and stuff like that when they were in college, right? A couple guy friends of Alex's from college and whatever. They had all kind of made plans to meet up and have this brunch on Mass Avenue, like at this restaurant that like where the parade goes by and stuff like that, or the Pride Parade. And Alex asked me, he's like, do you want to go? And I think it was confusing to people. People were like, well, why aren't you going to it? They weren't necessarily going to it for like Pride Day, right? They were going to it to just have brunch and like meet up because a couple of them were in town for Pride Day, and so they were gonna like meet up for brunch. And I don't know, like other than Sarah, I don't know a lot of these people really, really well because these were friends of Alex's from college, you know? And it wasn't like their partners were coming and stuff. It was like they were all just kind of getting back together to like, you know, relive old times and whatever. And so, and I'd asked him several times. I had said, like, are you guys going to go over to the festival? Because if I had known that they were going to go over to the festival, I probably would have gone, right? The other thing is, like, Alex and his friends, when they get together, like, they have a tendency to have, like, very long brunches or very long dinners. And that is not super enjoyable for me. Like, I can sit there for, like, an hour, but after that I get kind of bored. And that was where I had said something like, you know, I would maybe go for an hour and take an Uber home or whatever. But it's so busy in downtown Indianapolis today because there's, like, Italian festivals going on, Pride Day is going on. There's like 3 huge things going on in downtown Indianapolis today. So, I mean, to wait for an Uber to get home, I didn't know how long that would be. So, and the other thing is it's totally fine for my husband to go and do things with his friends without me. I go and do things with it's not like Alex, you know, every time my recovery friends and I go out to dinner, like he hangs out with us because he doesn't. You know, and that's totally fine for partners to have separate friends, you know, in their relationship. I know that's bizarre to some people, but it's totally fine. So anyway, but then what ended up happening, because like we were texting and whatever, and they like went and had brunch, but then like 3 people ended up like canceling. And so it ended up being like Sarah and this other girl that he's friends with, and then these 2 guys. And so instead of it being like 7 people, it ended up being like 4 or 5 people. I don't know, like I think like 3 or 4 people canceled. But anyway, so they had brunch for like an hour and a half, and then they decided that they were going to walk over to the festival because the parade was over at that point. If I had known that, I would have gone to the festival. Like, I would have gone down there. And actually, Melissa was manning a booth for the dog rescue that she volunteers for. And so at that point I was like, well, I wonder if she's down there yet and whatever. But she actually did like 8:30 to 2, and then there was like the other volunteer group came in at like 2 o'clock to this evening, and so Melissa was already down there. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll take an Uber. And then I was like, I don't know, like, I mean, it's so big, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna find Alex and this whole crowd and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, forget it, it's whatever. So anyway, they were just like sitting underneath a tree, and they were listening to a DJ the last time I talked to him, and then he said he was gonna come home in just a little bit, and I was like, okay, well, have fun with your friends, you know. So anyway, so yeah, so there's that. And but he did wear a really cute shirt, because he, last night when he was like he had this like rainbow flag tank top on, and he was like trying different outfits and whatever. And I said, you know, I have like the perfect Pride Day t-shirt. And he was like, well, what is it? And I hadn't worn it yet, and I bought it a couple years ago and it didn't fit, but now it fits. And so I pulled it out of the closet, and it's like this light blue t-shirt. It's like a replica of, I don't know if you guys remember these from back in the 80s, but it's like an ACT UP t-shirt. ACT UP was an organization, an AIDS awareness organization in the 80s that started in New York City. And they had 2 t-shirts that, well, I think the Keith Haring one was ACT UP. I might be wrong, but it was one where it had like the Keith Haring drawings on it, and it said silence equals death. And then the other one is 2 sailors kissing, and it says read my lips. And then on the back of it, and that's the one I have, and then on the back of it, it has like the information about ACT UP on it. And so I pulled it out, and Alex was like, ooh, I like that t-shirt. And I was like, well, try it on. I don't know if it'll fit you. It's probably too big. But he tried it on, and it fit him like perfectly. And he's like, do you care if I wear this? I was like, no, not at all. Go ahead, wear it. So he wore it today. It looks super cute. He had a really cute outfit on. So I'm glad he's having a good time with his friends. And yeah, and I got to just kind of relax and all this kind of stuff. And it's been nice. So, yeah, when he gets home, we might go to the pool and go for a little bit of a swim. And I have my leftover piata that I'm going to eat for dinner. I know he's not hungry because I asked him, and he said no, that he had, you know, like had a big brunch. So he's not hungry. And then we might go for a swim, and then we'll probably watch like RuPaul's Drag Race and a movie or something like that. Have like a low-key night, and then tomorrow we'll probably go to brunch somewhere. So that's it. Last night he got home rather early. He got home, I think it was like before 10 o'clock. I was kind of surprised, because I thought that they would stay. I mean, I think that Zubilation closed at like 12 or 12:30 or something like that. And he got home at like 9:30, between 9:30 and 10 sometime. And he was like really tired, and his feet were hurting him, he said, because of the shoes. And so I went up and talked to him for a while, and we hung out, and then he was like, I'm going to go to bed because he had to get up. Did I already say this? I feel like I already said this. I probably did. But he had to get up for this brunch today that I thought it started at like 2, but I guess it started at like 10. So he got up early for that today. But anyway, so yeah, he had fun. And then let's talk about TV shows, because I binge watched a bunch of TV shows last night. So I started watching Shiny Happy People about the Duggars. I actually started watching that last night when I called Tanya Jean, and I said, it was like at the time that the meeting was supposed to start, and I said, Tanya Jean, I'm very upset with you. And she goes, oh my God, she was in so much pain, like her knee is so bad. And she goes, what are you upset with me about? And I said, well, because we're not going to the meeting, Tanya. I'm sitting on the front porch eating piata in the nice weather and watching Shiny Happy. She started laughing. She goes, you're such an ass. But anyway, I said, how are you feeling? She goes, I'm not feeling great. She's like, my leg is really, really hurting. I was like, listen. And she was like, and we have so many dogs at the kennel and stuff like that. I said, do not go to the kennel tomorrow and stand on your feet for 6 to 8 hours. And she's like, well, I have to work tomorrow. It's like, she's like, you know, I have to. And I was like, do not go to the kennel and stand on your feet for 6 to 8 hours. Don't do it. And she's like, okay, I won't. I was like, at least, you know, allow yourself to take a break, like every, you know, hour or whatever. And she's like, okay. But she was in so much pain. I felt so bad for her. Her knee was like really, really hurting her. So anyway, she told me more about it. I can't remember. She told me more about what her doctor said about it and stuff. So anyway, I was watching that Shiny Happy People, and I have to tell you, I'm not in love with it. Like Caroline, like loves these religious documentaries. I don't, it's so weird. I don't really know what it's about. It's like, I was telling Tanya this, it's like Caroline doesn't, like, she didn't come from like a real religious background. Like, my aunt and uncle went to church like growing up like we did, but they went to like, you know, a pretty liberal church, and Caroline didn't have any bad experiences or whatever, but she's like so interested in these like religious documentaries about these like scandalous churches. And well, she also used to watch the Duggar show, the whatever the show was on, I don't, Bravo or TLC, I think it was on TLC or something like that. She used to watch that show. And she's obsessed with Sister Wives. She loves it. She's always trying to get me to watch Sister Wives. She's like, oh my God, it's so good. And I'm like, is it really that good? And she's like, it is so good. So she's the one that was really telling me to watch Shiny Happy People. And so I started it last night. I got like, I don't even know how far I got into it. It's not super interesting to me. I'm not real interested by that family. Plus the girl, the main Duggar girl that's kind of telling about the whole situation, like, you could tell she's holding back a lot. Like, there's a lot she won't talk about. And I'm like, if you're going to be in a documentary talking about your family, talk about your family. You know what I mean? I keep on thinking I hear my phone, like somebody texting me, but it's not going off. So anyway, so I watched that, and then I watched... Well, I talked on the phone for a while, and then I was watching like YouTube videos and stuff. And then I watched High Desert with Patricia Arquette. I feel like with that show, like, I really do love the show, but I feel like the first 2 or 3 episodes was really good, and then it kind of like just got stagnant. And it kind of like plateaued a little bit. Like, it started getting kind of boring. This week's episode and last week's episode were just, I mean, they weren't super great. So I watched that. Then I watched The Idol on Max because Alex had watched that. So I thought, well, I'll watch it, and then that can be another show that we watch together. And it's with like, it has like a huge ensemble cast. It's like Dan Levy is in it, and The Weeknd is in it. There's like a ton of people in it that like you would know from like other things. Troye Sivan is in it. It's really interesting. So it's about this like pop singer that they compare in the show to Britney Spears, like by what she's gone through and whatever. And she's like this whole team of people that like work around her, and she's coming out with like a new album, and it's like on the heels of like her mother had died like a year ago, and like this trauma that she went through. And something happens like in the first episode that's kind of like social media like trending, and so she has to like deal with that, and she's just kind of like super wild. If you plan to watch it, I will tell you it's very, very provocative. I mean, there's like drugs, sex, violence, nudity, all kinds of stuff in there. I don't really, to be honest with you, know what I think of it yet. Like, I watched the first episode. I thought the first episode was pretty interesting, but it didn't... Like, if the whole season was already out, like, it didn't make me... Like, I wouldn't, like, binge watch the season in one sitting. Like, it wasn't that interesting to me. It's very slow-moving. It's very trying to be kind of very artsy to some degree. I don't know. It was good. It was good enough for me to continue to watch with Alex, for us to have, you know, something to talk about as far as TV, because we don't watch a lot of the same shows right now. Well, RuPaul's Drag Race, and then Real Housewives of Atlanta, Real Housewives of Orange County, and then The Idol. So we'll have, I guess, 4 shows is a lot for us, but I don't know when the next episode comes out. It looks like it gets real crazy. I watched the trailer for the season, so I watched that. And then people have been, like, tweeting me and direct messaging me and telling me about this new show, which I'd already seen the trailer for, on Peacock, called Based on a True Story. And so I was looking it up. I feel like I watched something else, too, but now I don't remember. But anyway, it's this new show on Peacock, and it's called Based on a True Story, and it's an 8-part series. The whole series is already out. They put the whole series out. Each episode is a half an hour, and it's about this couple, and she's a realtor, and he's kind of like this aging tennis star that had like a knee injury, and so he couldn't play in like the, you know, with the big league anymore. And so he has, for 17 years, been like the main director of like this tennis program at the Beverly Center, and they're like really struggling with money. and she's obsessed with true crime podcasts. And so they kind of have this, I don't want to give too much away, but this is all in the first episode anyway. They have like this encounter with what they think is a serial killer, and so they decide that they're going to turn it into a podcast. It is so good, you guys. It is like, I mean, I watched like the first episode and a half, and if it wasn't so late by that point, I would have, this was a show that I could have binge watched the whole thing in one setting. Like, I'm so excited to start watching it tonight and finish watching it. And then I think after I finish that, I'm gonna go back and watch Shiny Happy People. And then there was another show on Netflix. Hold on, that just came out. I just put it on my list. Oh, it was just up and then it went away. Oh, here, no. Oh shit, where is it? Manifest is trending at number 2. My list. The Playing Card Killer. This docuseries depicts the case of the playing card killer whose actions made the public opinion question politicians and institutions, and I know nothing about it, but that looks really good. And it is 3 parts. An Ace of Cups. I don't know how to pronounce these things, so anyway. But that looks really good. I want to watch that too. So yeah, so those are the things I'm going to watch, and I talked to Mel for a long time last night, my book club partner, and I was telling her, I said, I wish there was like a show that would come out that was like a thriller that I could like binge watch in one setting that I would get like real excited about, and I was like, but there's like nothing new that's out, and then like I started watching this based on a true story, and it's really, really good. So I'm super excited about that, and yeah, that's about it. And I have listened to more of my audiobook. I'm slowly making it through How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Mel said to me yesterday, she goes, I don't know why you don't just DNF that book. So DNF in the booktube world, or book world, means do not finish. And I said, because I'm so far into it at this point, like I'm like 3 or 4 hours into it, I feel like I should finish it, you know? I mean, I've only got like 3 hours left of it or something. And we were talking about, like, she has a really hard time not finishing a book too. Like, even if she gets like 20 minutes or an hour into it or half an hour or whatever, like it's hard for her to not finish a book. And I'm the same way. Like, once I start a book, like I have a really hard time, like, I'm gonna pull you guys closer. I have a really hard time like not finishing it, even if I do not love the book. The table is rattling. Do you hear it? I have a really hard time not. I don't want to put the coffee cup on here because it's going to rattle then every time I pick it up. But if I put it on this table, then it's going to shake the camera. It doesn't matter. Anyway, like if I get into like an audiobook and it's like a half an hour and I'm into it, typically the only time I'll DNF a book is if I'm trying to think of I think the last book that I DNF'd was An Interview with the Vampire. And I was just like so bored with it. I just was like, I think it's a book that if I read it at a certain time, like I would maybe be more interested in it. But I had picked for Peter's book club, because Joan Didion and Anne Rice had both passed just recently when I made those books. So I had picked Joan Didion's The Year of Magical Thinking and Anne Rice, Interview with the Vampire. And loved Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion, but she's such a fantastic writer. But I got like an hour or something into Interview with the Vampire. It just was real slow for me, and I think I expected something completely different out of it. Now, a lot of people have told me that I need to watch the TV show, so maybe I need to watch the TV show Interview with the Vampire. I don't know. I'm just like, you know, it's weird, like paranormal things that you're interested in and whatever. I think part of it is, you know, I'm like interested in reading about aliens. I'm interested in reading about zombies. I'm interested in reading about dystopian end of the world kind of things. Like, I love that. I'm not super interested in reading about vampires or watching movies about vampires. Like, I don't love that. I think part of it for me is like when I was in high school, like my junior and senior year, you know, there were so many people. I mean, I used to joke about this in my videos, but it was the truth. There were so many people that, you know, when we would like go to Perkins or Denny's or whatever, and they'd be like writing in a notebook, and they have all black on, you know, and white makeup on their face, and you know, and they wouldn't just say like, oh, I'm obsessed with vampires, or I like to read about vampires, whatever. Like, they were vampires, like they were gonna write their story, you know, like, and they had been changed. I mean, we would meet these people, and like, I mean, they were convinced that they were vampires, you know, which is so funny because, like, some of these people, like, we met enough and got to know well enough, and then, like, when I started going out to gay bars, like, a lot of the guys were gay, and so over the course of, like, 3 or 4 years, they'd start going out. I saw them in bars and stuff like that. You know, and flash forward, like, 10 or 15 years, I'd see these people, like, at just, like, random things, you know, like, and they weren't wearing black anymore, and they weren't vampires, and I was like, well, what happened? Like, I'm confused. Like, in my head, I'm still thinking, like, well, what happened? Like, you were a vampire at Perkins. Like, you're not a vampire anymore, and we're 30. Like, what happened? I mean, I'm confused, you know? But they were, like, so serious about it. I can remember, like, my girlfriends back in the day were a little bit more ballsy than I was, and so they would, like, question the hell out of these people, and they'd be like, well, what do you mean you're a vampire? And they'd be like, well, I was changed. Well, you were changed. How were you changed? Well, it happened at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, and I was leaving the gas station, and, you know, really? Yeah, I'm writing it in my book. I'm telling my story. And it was all because everybody had read the Anne Rice books, you know, and they were obsessed with the vampire Lestat and the interview with the vampire. That's all what it was. That whole, like, from, like, 87 to 90 when I was in high school, everybody was, like, obsessed. There were so many people that were obsessed with that whole vampire culture. And so I think that's why, like, so many people were saying they were vampires, and they were writing about that. Now, I will tell you the one difference is I did love True Blood. I thought True Blood was fantastic, and Alex and I watched that. But other than that, I'm not, like, super interested in vampire stuff. Like, I don't watch, like, vampire shows. I don't like vampire movies. Like, I'm just not super interested in all of that. And I think it's because of that. I think it's because those people kind of ruined it for me. You ruined the magic. And I think it was because they just, like, took it so seriously. It's like, I thought it was so corny or something. I don't know. I just remember, and I can remember going to school and telling people, like, oh, we met a vampire. And they'd be like, what? Oh, Mary at Perkins. You don't know Mary, but she's a vampire. She goes to Broad Ripple. Who? And we'd be like, Mary. You don't know her? She's a vampire. She goes to Broad Ripple High School. How do you know her? We met her at Perkins. She's a friend of ours. She smokes clove cigarettes. Oh my gosh. Those were the days. And somebody said something on my vlog the other day. They go, why do you tell so many stories about your past? Like, why are you so obsessed about your past that you're constantly talking about your past in your vlogs? Do you know, like, okay, well, these are hey! Did you go to the pool?
Yeah.
How was it?
It's still kind of cold. I'm going to go back in just a second and try and jump in, though.
Okay, well, I might go up there.
Huh?
I might go up there and see you up there.
Yeah, my friend is with me and her kid and her parents.
Are there a lot of people up there?
Yeah, please come.
Okay.
You should meet them.
Okay.
My grandma's up there right now.
Aw. Your grandma loves me so much.
Yeah, maybe she won't stay much longer, but I feel like she doesn't get much social interaction anymore.
That's
so.
good for her, though.
Yeah. So she might soak it up.
Okay. All right.
We'll be down there.
All right. Sounds good. So there, I might go up there until Alex gets home. Our grandma is the one that, I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in the day, like when Alex and I moved in here, my mom did not like her grandma at all, because she was like the nosy lady of the neighborhood back in the day, kind of like me today. And we were at the pool, and she was saying all this stuff about my mom, and Alex was like laying there acting. It was like her and one other woman were sitting on the side of the pool, and we were at the end of the pool laying out in the sun. It was just the 4 of us out there. There was nobody else, right? And so Alex is laying down in his chair acting like he can't hear anything. And I'm like sitting up kind of like, you know, listen, but I'm listening to the whole conversation, but I'm like acting like I can't hear it, like with my eyes closed, right? And so she's talking about my mom, and she's saying all this kind of stuff, and I'm just like, I can't believe she's so rude that she's talking about my mom and saying all this kind of stuff. And then she says something about Alex and I can't even remember how she said it now, but she said, too nice a homosexual. She's got like a real East Coast accent. She's like, too nice are homosexuals you'll never meet. So she and I always, because that's her grandma, we always get laughing about that, but But then, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, I realized that it's just easier to befriend her, so I befriended her. But now, like, her grandma's really hard of hearing, so when I talk to her, she just, like, she can't really hear what I'm saying. And so she used to walk around the neighborhood a lot. She doesn't really do that anymore, but I think she's, like, in her 90s now. So she still looks like she's doing pretty good for her age. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, but people saying, like, I always tell these stories from my, like, childhood and whatever. You know, here's the thing. Unless I pontificate about my philosophies of the world, about how I feel about things like religion or recovery or, you know, whatever. If I don't do that, if I tell you guys what I did last night and what I'm doing today, that fills about 10 minutes of a vlog, so they could just be real short vlogs. So I tend to tell stories a lot from my past, you know. It's funny because, and to be honest with you, I enjoy it because I don't really have a lot of people. Like, when Caroline and I get together, Caroline doesn't have, like, she's always like, I cannot believe you have the memory that you have. She's like, I don't know how you, I'll be like, do you remember this? Do you remember that? Do you remember this from Grandma's apartment? She's like, how do you remember that? And I'm like, I just do. She's like, I mean, you remember where Grandma's kitchen table was? I mean, how do you remember? I'm like, Caroline, you don't remember that? She's like, no, I don't remember any of that kind of stuff. And, like, Caroline has, like, no memory from before, like, when, I mean, she does, but she doesn't have, like, a really strong memory from before she was, like, 16 or 17 or something like that. And so, like, I'll mention stuff to her, like, and she'll vaguely kind of remember stuff. I mean, not, like, deep-seated stuff, but, like, just, you know, stories of our childhood and whatever. And I'll be like, do you remember when this happened? Do you remember this person? Do you remember? She'll be like, who are you talking about? Like, I don't remember that person at all. I'll be like, Caroline, how do you not remember them? But then what's so crazy is, I must be feeding off on her because lately, she's like, so Caroline grew up in this neighborhood that I live in. She grew up, like, 1.5 streets over. And so, like, when we've gotten together, we'll get, like, refreshers at Starbucks, and then she'll want to, like, drive through the neighborhood and, like, look at, like, where her friends used to live. And so she'll tell me stories about that and stuff like that, which is kind of fun. Like, you know, it's fun learning a lot about, because I knew those girls, but I didn't know, like, where they lived and all this kind of stuff. And Caroline would be like, oh yeah, and we used to, like, sneak out of the back window and go over to these boys' houses, or, you know, they had a swimming pool and we would go swimming every single day there and stuff like that. And this woman that lived across from, so anyway, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to tell these stories. I know, like, the person was nice about how they said it. They were just, you know, but thank you for allowing me to tell these stories because, to be honest with you, like, other than Caroline, like, I don't really have a lot of people, you know, to tell these stories with. Like, my dad, he doesn't, oh, she decided, I guess she was going to drive back. She drove down to the pool. My dad will bring up stuff every once in a while, like, in kind of like a teasing, sarcastic way. But, like, he doesn't love to, like, reminisce about stuff. Especially if it's going to be something that's going to make him kind of, like, sad. Like, he doesn't like to go there at all. Like, that's not fun for him, so he doesn't do that. But he does, like, my dad has a memory like me. He does really remember a lot of stuff. And he'll bring up stuff to me that I don't even remember. Kind of, like, funny stuff, though. And then other than that, like, it's, you know, like, I mean, I met Tanya when I was, you know, a few years sober, so she doesn't really know anything other than me telling her stories before that. I mean, we've told each other tons of stories at this point, but I don't have tons of people, you know, at this point. It's not like I have siblings or anything to, like, relive these things with, so I think that's kind of why I sometimes do on here, go to the vlog and, like, tell these stories. And it's fun for me, you know, it's kind of fun for me to relive it a little bit. And I don't know why, just, like, this thought just went through my head, but I was thinking about lemonade stands. You know, it's like, I can remember we used to always have lemonade stands as kids. We lived in a cul-de-sac. I don't know who was buying our lemonade, but nobody, I don't think, you know, but we would, like, spend, like, 2 hours putting together this lemonade stand, and it had to be, like, the most perfect lemonade, and we'd have the most perfect sign on a poster board, and, you know, of course we had to have a cash reserve so that we could, like, pay people back change if they gave us $1 and all this kind of, I mean, it's so funny when I think back on that, like, how serious, talking about seriousness of vampires, right? When I think about, like, how serious we were at, like, 6 and 7 years old about this lemonade stand, you know, that I can see it in my head. I can see the lemonade stand, you know, as a card table that we borrowed from the neighbor, that we'd have this poster board, you know, and it'd be like, with a cup of lemonade, you get 5 free chocolate chip cookies or something, you know what I mean? Because we just wanted to sell this lemonade so bad. We were going to make so much money off this lemonade. And, you know, we'd have like 3 jugs of lemonade out there. Nobody was coming by. It was a cul-de-sac. Nobody was driving by to buy lemonade. I don't know why that cracks me up so bad now. Oh my God, we were such dreamers as kids. I don't know why that just makes me laugh when I think back on that. It stopped, but I was saying, to this day, I love when I see lemonade stands. Now they're like heavy duty. Like you can buy lemonade stands off of like Amazon and stuff, like real serious lemonade stands and whatever, you know. Like our neighbors are so good. Like when we don't have any kids in the neighborhood where I live, but outside of here, like outside this community, it's like all like families that have kids that are that age and like into high school. And so I mean, every summer there's a couple lemonade stands, you know, and like the neighbors are real good about stopping and buying lemonade and all this kind of stuff, which I think is so sweet. There's something so innocent about that, isn't there? The whole idea of like thinking that you're going to make $1 million at a lemonade stand on a cul-de-sac. I don't know why, but we would always like, there would always be something that we would give away for free, like a, you know, free grab bag of just junk that we'd find in the basement, or, you know, like I said, like 3 or 5 cookies, you know, like if you buy a glass of lemonade in a Dixie cup this big, you get 5 free chocolate chip cookies for 15 cents. You get all that for 15 cents, you know. Somebody would give us like a $5 bill and we thought we had like hit the line was cussed. We thought we had hit the lottery. Oh my God. I wish life could be like that today. I wish life could be that simple today, you know. And then you'd be like, oh my God, how are we going to split this $5 bill? And then that would be what you would do the whole rest of the afternoon was. If you didn't care about the lemonade stand anymore, you'd already made your $5 bill on one person that was a nice enough neighbor to walk over, you know, in the cul-de-sac and give you $5 and not even taking, didn't even want any lemonade because it tasted so sour and watered down, you know. And then the rest of the day, you're trying to figure out how to split $5 between 3 people or something like that, you know, and like going to your mom and being like, now, can you give us $5 bills for this and some quarters, and can you take us to the bank and we need to open a savings account with our $5? We were always starting projects. Oh my God, we were always starting projects in our neighborhood. Me and my 2 friends, Jesse and Katie, it was like we were always doing some kind of, you know, forts in the woods or whatever. And like the boys in our neighborhood that put together these sports like deals, like baseball, because we had like cul-de-sac is perfect, you know, for like baseball and whatever, because it's like, you know, like basically like a built-in triangle. But it couldn't just be like, let's play a baseball game. It was always like there had to be like a league, you know, there was like so many people on a team. And then that was why we got so bored of it. We were like sat on the electrical box and just you know, cheered them on and popped our gum and all that kind of stuff. Hey! My neighbor across the street, he's weeding and stuff. I think he's bored since he got retired. I said that to him the other day. I go, are you bored? He goes, no. I was like, he is bored. I was telling Tanya the other day, I said, if I had $10 million sitting in the bank, I could just order DoorDash and binge watch one show after another, and I would be completely fine for the rest of my life. She goes, you would get so bored. I go, no, Tanya, I would not. She goes, yes, you would. And I said something to Caroline, and Caroline goes, oh my God, I could do the same thing. She goes, if I had $10 million sitting in the bank, I could totally. Any mail yet? Nothing. I said, and Caroline was like, I could do the same thing. She's like, I could just binge watch one show after another. I have watched so many shows this year, you guys, so far. I have watched, hold on, watch TV shows. 53 shows already this year. Like, that is crazy. And some of them are like Truth Be Told seasons 1 and 2. I mean, some of them are more than one season. Some of them are just like documentaries too, but not many of them. Like Some Kind of Heaven about the villages. I was talking to one of my neighbors the other day. She had somebody visiting, and they were walking down the street. They were walking their cat, and it looked like a, what do you call it? Like a, I can't even think of the word now I'm looking for, but baby carriage, basically, you know, but it was like all covered and zipped up and stuff. And I said, and I've known her forever, and I said, I thought maybe it was like her granddaughter or great grandbaby or something like that. And I said, do you have like a baby in there? She goes, no, it's my cat. I go, what? She's like, I'm taking my cat for a walk. She took her cat for this walk, and it's like baby carriage thing that zipped up and everything like that. And she goes, you want to see him? And I said, yeah. So I went down there, and there was the cat sitting there just like looking around at the world, like through this like baby carriage thing. I had windows on the side and everything like that. So we got talking about the villages. And her friend that was visiting lives in Florida. And I said, oh, then you must have heard about the villages. And she was talking about Sun City and these other places. And I said, do you know about the pineapples and stuff like that? She goes, I don't know about the pineapples. And I go, well, apparently you put like pineapples, I don't know if you put them upside down or something, but if you put them outside your door, that means you're a swinger and all this kind of stuff. She goes, did you hear? And I'm like, I just met this woman like 2 minutes before, right? And she goes, she leans in, she goes, did you hear that the villages had the highest rate of STDs in the country at one point? Because I just thought those people thought they were too old, that they weren't going to catch anything, and they were just doing it left and right. And I thought, oh my God, we were having this conversation right out here in the middle of the street while you're walking your cat. Justice for puss, I guess. But anyway, I thought it was so funny. Welcome to my wonderful life in the neighborhood. Oh man, coffee tastes good. What time is that? Well, you guys, I think I'm going to do a little bit of a shorter vlog today. Have the last two been longer? Yesterday's was closer to an hour, so I think I'm going to make today's a little bit shorter, let you guys get caught up in the vlogs from the last couple days. And I'm going to get off here and start, I'm starting to get a little hungry, honestly, and start doing all this. I got to water my plants, and then I'm going to maybe like head down and go meet her friends and go for a dip in the pool till Alex gets home, and then maybe he'll walk down. So anyway, I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Saturday, and if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Remember these 3 very important things. 1, you can start your day over whenever you want. 2, practice random acts of kindness, but shh, don't tell anyone. And 3, most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you. Like I always say, you might be putting a smile on their face. You might be changing their day for the better. You might be making them happier, and you might be just giving them hope. You don't know, you know? And also, be kinder to one another, love one another a little bit more, and most importantly, be kinder and love yourselves a little bit more, because what? It all starts with you. And I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you. Oh, and for those that need to hear it, and those that want to hear it, and those that just happen to stick around, one more I love you. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you.